There will come a moment in your life when everything feels like it's crumbling. The job you once loved becomes a prison. The mirror reflects a stranger. The days blur into each other like smoke in the wind. You look around and ask, is this it? You feel the weight of every missed opportunity, every excuse, every wasted day. You carry it like a ghost on your shoulders, whispering in your ear, you could have been more. And it's in that moment, when the walls cave in and the silence screams louder than a crowd, that the first spark of rebirth begins. You were never meant to stay broken. You were meant to rebuild. But rebuilding doesn't start in your environment. Not in your job, not in your bank account, not in your relationships. It starts where the world never looks deep in the furnace of your mindset. You see, mindset is not a motivational slogan slapped on a coffee mug. It is the architecture of your future. It is the soil in which every dream is either nourished or strangled. If your mind is filled with weeds, doubt, fear, procrastination, excuses, don't expect a garden of greatness to bloom. A man cannot reap harvest where he has not first cleared the land. So what do? You burn it down. Every limiting belief, every excuse you've whispered to yourself under the disguise of reality, every story that starts with, I'm not the kind of person who, burn it. Torch the old version of yourself with the fire of intention. You are not your past. You are not your mistakes. You are what you decide to become today. Success does not respond to who you were. It responds to who you are becoming. And becoming begins with belief. Belief is not wishful thinking. It is not the sugar-coated optimism of the uncommitted. Belief is war. It is the defiant roar that rises inside you when your back is against the wall and the odds are stacked like mountains. It is looking in the mirror and saying, I will not die with this potential still locked inside of me. Do you understand what that means? It means you are more powerful than your circumstances, but only if you believe, because without belief, talent is wasted. Without belief, opportunity walks right by you unnoticed. Without belief, you shrink yourself to fit into the opinions of those who gave up on their own dreams. Clarity is the compass. Belief gives you the engine. Clarity gives you the direction. Too many are revving their lives in neutral, working hard, moving fast, going nowhere. If you don't know where you're going, the world will sell you a destination that was never meant to be yours. Clarity begins with a simple but terrifying question. What do I want? Not what your parents want, not what society expects, not what will make you look good on Instagram. What do you, in the secret corners of your heart, truly desire? That answer is your map. And once you have your map, it's time to summon vision. Vision is the telescope of the soul. It allows you to see what isn't yet visible. It's how empires are built from dust. It's how the caterpillar crawls into a tomb and comes out with wings. Vision pulls you through the mud, through the failure, through the betrayal, through the nights when no one claps, no one texts, no one believes. It pulls you because it's not a fantasy, it's a preview. And a preview demands action. Purpose is the fuel. Without it, you stall. Without it, the grind becomes a grave. But with purpose, every challenge becomes sacred. Every struggle becomes a teacher. Purpose doesn't whisper, it shouts. It doesn't ask you to avoid pain, it demands you transform it. Because purpose turns suffering into strength. And when you're driven by purpose, discipline becomes devotion. You no longer wake up because you have to. You wake up because you're building something bigger than yourself. Discipline is not punishment. It's a love letter to your future self. It's proof that you were willing to pay the price when it mattered. Success is not for the comfortable. It is for the committed. Discipline is what gets you to the gym when it's raining. It's what makes you write when the words won't come. It's what keeps you focused when distraction dances like a siren, pulling everyone else into the rocks. It is what makes you dangerous. But discipline without action is just theory. You must move. Success is built in motion, not in thought, not in planning, not in perfection. Action is the antidote to fear. You will never feel ready. The stars will never align. The moment will never be perfect. You have to leap while your legs are still shaking. You have to speak while your voice still trembles. You have to act while doubt still lingers like smoke. Because motion silences doubt. And when you act with courage, you grow. Growth is the price of admission for a better life. And growth does not come with applause. It comes with resistance. It comes with failure. It comes with falling on your face in front of the very people you wanted to impress. But listen, closely, growth is not failure. It is feedback. It is refinement. It is the chisel sculpting your soul into something worthy of success. And as you grow, gratitude must become your ground. Not as a cliche, but as a force. Gratitude does not mean you settle. It means you recognize the value in every lesson. It means you give thanks for the challenges that tried to break you and instead built your character. Gratitude turns the mundane into magic. It turns I have to into I get to. It sharpens your vision. It raises your energy. It makes you a magnet for more. And the world gives more to those who already celebrate what they have. But as you rise, understand this life will change. Environments will shift. Plans will fall apart. People will leave. Markets will crash. Storms will come. And when they do, you must bend without breaking. That's adaptability. You must be water. Fluid, powerful, unstoppable. Adaptability means you don't marry your method. You marry your mission. The path will change, but the destination stays sacred. Those who refuse to adapt fossilize. Those who evolve thrive. And to evolve is to endure. That's resilience. Resilience is not about pretending to be unshakable. It's about choosing to rise again and again, no matter how many times life cuts you at the knees. It's about standing tall with scars on your soul and fire in your eyes. It's about building a life that cannot be taken because it was never handed to you. It was built brick by brick in the shadows. And in the shadows, you learn. Lifelong learning is not a hobby. It is survival. If you are not learning, you are decaying. Knowledge is leverage. Wisdom is armor. Insight is ammunition. The man who refuses to learn is a slave to those who do. You must read. You must listen. You must surround yourself with those who stretch your mind, not shrink it. Your circle is your curriculum. Choose it with precision. A fool with access to information is still a fool. But a wise man with hunger can reshape empires. And as your wisdom grows, you must speak. Not just with your mouth, but with your life. Let your actions echo louder than words. Let your standards preach. Let your habits inspire. Let your consistency convert skeptics into believers. Let your transformation be a sermon. Because the most powerful message is a life rebuilt from the ashes with purpose. And if you're still breathing, it means you're not done. Rebuilding yourself for success is not a one-time project. It is a lifelong masterpiece. Every day is a brushstroke. Every decision is a declaration. Every habit is a seed. So speak life into your mind, your future, your circle. Speak power when others speak doubt. Speak progress when others speak excuses. Speak destiny when others speak defeat. Because your words are seeds, and the harvest is coming. But here's the truth. No one will tell you most people are sowing poison. Not intentionally, but habitually. Every complaint, every insult, every limitation, muttered under their breath, every cynical joke. These are seeds too. Seeds of decay, seeds of self-sabotage. Words are not harmless. They are architects. And every time you speak without awareness, you're giving instructions to the universe, to your subconscious, to your soul. So choose carefully, because the world becomes what you speak it to be. Not instantly, not magically, but inevitably. That is the law of compound influence. Speak a lie to yourself long enough, and you start to build a prison you can't see. But speak truth bold, empowering, audacious truth, and you begin to build a life that reflects your highest self. You rise into your calling brick by brick, word by word. You must become fluent in the language of power. That means eliminating vocabulary that weakens you. Phrases like, I can't, I'm just not the type, it's too late. I always mess this up. Erase them. They are curses disguised as casual talk. They are permission slips for mediocrity. They are the enemy's greatest weapon, self-sabotage, through self-talk. In their place, plant declarations. I am capable. I am becoming. I am building something unshakable. I am the kind of person who shows up, even when it's hard. I don't have all the answers, but I have the fire to figure it out. Speak these truths aloud until your bones believe them, because repetition is the mother of mastery, and you are mastering the art of becoming. That's what rebuilding is. Not adding more, but subtracting the lies, removing the rust from your soul, sharpening your language until it cuts through every excuse. You don't need more time. You don't need more talent. You need more truth, spoken, lived, embodied. You need the kind of truth that doesn't blink under pressure. The kind that walks into fear like it owns the place. The kind that reclaims lost years and says, I'm not starting over, I'm starting wiser. And wisdom, my friend, is earned through fire. It is forged in the seasons where everything breaks, where people leave, where money dries up, where plans collapse, where your confidence hits the floor, and all you're left with is your breath and your will. But even there, in the rubble, you can rebuild. You can take one brick, one lesson, one insight, and begin again, not as a victim, but as a creator. Not with desperation, but with precision. And the more you build, the more you begin to see you were never broken, only buried. Buried under distractions. Buried under other people's opinions. Buried under old identities that no longer serve you. And now, you're rising. Not to impress, not to prove, but to express what was always in you: greatness, vision, power, fire. And from this day forward, everything you do becomes a signal. Every workout, every journal entry, every risk, every early morning, every late night, they are declarations, signals to the world and to yourself that this time is different. This time, you're not hoping. You're becoming. You're walking like you already belong in the room. You're moving like your future is watching. You're acting like your legacy depends on it, because it does. Let the past be a lesson, not a life sentence. Let your mistakes be mentors, not shackles. Let every no be a refinement, not a rejection. And let your struggle become sacred, because it's sculpting something eternal. See, success isn't about reaching the top. It's about becoming the kind of person who belongs there. And to become that person, you have to surrender who you were. The lazy version, the victim version, the distracted version, the afraid to speak version. Kill that version with action. Starve it with discipline. Replace it with a standard so high that even your future self would be proud. Because no one is coming to save you. Not a guru, not a boss, not a lover, not some lucky break. You are your rescue mission. You are your revolution. You are the miracle you've been waiting for. And when you rebuild yourself from that place, everything changes. You start to attract opportunities instead of chasing them. You start to create momentum instead of needing motivation. You start to inspire others not by talking, but by transforming. And that's the ultimate power. Because real power is not loud. It's quiet. It's consistent. It's invisible until the results are undeniable. Rebuilding yourself is not about noise. It's about roots. Deep roots. Unshakable roots. The kind that survive every storm and still rise to meet the sun. The kind that don't beg for validation, they build it. And when your roots are deep, your fruit speaks for itself. So stop waiting. Stop waiting for the perfect plan. Stop waiting for people to understand. Stop waiting for motivation to strike. Stop waiting for the fear to disappear. Do it afraid. Do it broken. Do it underqualified. Do it while your hands still shake and your voice still cracks. Because that's what rebuilding looks like. It's messy. It's raw. It's sacred. And it is yours. Not everyone will see it. Not everyone will understand it. But you didn't come here to be understood. You came here to become undeniable. You came here to build something eternal. A mind so sharp it cuts through doubt. A heart so full it lights up the darkest room. a soul so rooted it cannot be moved. So rise not in arrogance, but in truth. Rise with gratitude. Rise with clarity. Rise with purpose. And speak life into every dark corner you used to hide in. Because every word is a seed. And this time you're planting a forest. A forest that doesn't apologize for growing. A forest that breaks through concrete. That doesn't ask permission to rise, but rises because it must. Because its roots are thick with intention, and its branches reach for heaven with the audacity of someone who knows they were made for more. You were made for more. And I don't say that to flatter you. I say it because somewhere along the way you forgot. You traded greatness for comfort. You traded purpose for approval. You dimmed your fire because someone else couldn't handle the heat. But your fire wasn't made to be hidden. It was made to burn, to refine, to illuminate, to lead. This is the turning point. This is the quiet vow between you and your future. The moment when you stop being impressed by potential and start demanding performance not from others, but from yourself. Because the standards you enforce in the silence determine the life you experience in the spotlight. Discipline is a language, and the universe only speaks fluently to those who are fluent in effort. So if you're serious about rebuilding, raise your rituals. Don't just dream at midnight, dominate at dawn. Don't just journal about clarity, act with precision. Don't just post about greatness, become it in the dark when no one is watching. You see, success isn't about the big wins. It's about 1,000 invisible decisions, the ones you think don't matter. The ones that feel small, repetitive, thankless, but they're stacking silently, daily, into something unstoppable. Every yes to the gym, every no to the distraction, every page read, every dollar saved, every bite you didn't eat, every moment you didn't react but responded. These are the bricks, these are the beams, these are the blueprints for a life rebuilt from excellence. And here's the secret. Most won't do it. Most will choose comfort. Most will run from the silence. Most will drown in distraction because it's easier to scroll than to grow. But you are not most. You are the exception. And that's why this journey is lonely at first. That's why it feels like no one gets it. Because the path to personal greatness is uphill, unpaved, and often walked alone. But the view at the top, it is clarity. It is freedom. It is impact. And it's worth every step. So protect your energy like it's gold, because it is. Guard your morning. Defend your mind. Audit your influences. Cut dead weight from your circle. If they don't feed your fire, they're drowning it. And you don't have time for that, not now, not anymore. This is sacred time. Time to build not just a better life, but a better version of yourself. One that keeps promises to themselves. One that builds trust through action. One that shows up when it's hard and doubles down when it hurts. That version of you doesn't chase, they attract. They don't need to beg, they become. They don't wish, they create. And the only way to become that version is to keep building. Even when it's boring. Even when it's painful. Even when no one claps. Especially when no one claps. Because greatness is grown in silence. It's not found in crowds. It's earned in obscurity. When all you have is your vision and your will. And when that becomes enough, you become dangerous, unstoppable, inevitable. Let them sleep. Let them doubt. Let them talk. You build. Let your habits whisper what your mouth never needs to say. Let your work become a monument. Let your discipline echo louder than opinions. Because one day, the world will look up and wonder how you did it. And you'll know. You'll know it wasn't luck. It wasn't talent. It wasn't timing. It was daily obedience to a higher calling. It was your refusal to stay down. It was the fire you chose to feed when everyone else put theirs out. It was you rebuilding, brick by brick, breath by breath, word by word, until the very structure of your life became proof that no matter how far you fall, no matter how lost you get, no matter how broken it seems, you can rise. And when you rise, you don't just rise for you. You rise for your children. You rise for the next generation. You rise for every soul who watches silently, wondering if their own comeback is possible. You rise and you become the lighthouse. Not perfect, not flawless, but whole because you rebuilt. You rebuilt with vision. You rebuilt with fire. You rebuilt with truth. And now, your life speaks louder than any voice ever could. Because in a world that's crumbling under the weight of distraction, fear, and apathy, you chose to rebuild. And in that choice, in that quiet, defiant, unwavering choice, you stepped into the rarest kind of power. The power of self-authorship. The power to rewrite your story, not from a place of regret, but from a place of relentless responsibility. Because here's what they don't tell you. No one is coming to rewrite it for you. No one is sitting in the shadows with a pen, waiting to fix what you won't face. You are the author. You are the architect. You are the alchemist. And when you realize that, truly realize it, something shifts. You stop asking for permission. You stop negotiating with excuses. You stop blaming and start building. You begin to craft your life the way an artist sculpts stone, with sweat, with patience, with fire in your chest and vision in your eyes. And when the chisel hits the marble, when the pressure feels unbearable, you don't crumble, you lean in. Because you know, every strike is revealing the masterpiece within. That's what rebuilding yourself for success is. It's not glamour, it's grit. It's not inspiration, it's execution. It's not waiting for the wind to shift. It's learning to sail in storms. And you will face storms. Make no mistake, if you dare to rise, life will test you, not to punish you, but to promote you. Every setback is an invitation. Every heartbreak is a cleansing. Every failure is a refiner's fire. And those who endure don't just survive, they ascend. But only if they choose it. And this life you're building, it doesn't come to the loudest, it comes to the most aligned, the most intentional, the most devoted to the inner work no one claps for. That means confronting your patterns. That means sacrificing short-term pleasure for long-term peace. That means showing up on the days you'd rather disappear. Because success doesn't speak in emotions. It speaks in patterns. It doesn't care how you feel today. It cares what you're willing to build through the feelings. That's why you must anchor to purpose. Because without purpose, discipline feels like punishment. But with it, discipline becomes worship. It becomes sacred not because it's easy, but because it's evidence that you've decided to be different. And being different in a world addicted to average is a revolution in itself. But don't expect applause. Don't expect the world to understand the early mornings, the lonely nights, the boundaries you set, the silence you protect. They won't get it. That's okay. They're not supposed to. Your vision was given to you, not them. So protect it, water it, speak to it. Let it grow in the darkness, quietly, like roots pushing through the soil. And when the fruit appears, when the life you dreamed of becomes real, it won't be a surprise. It will be the harvest of 1,000 unseen decisions. You'll look around and realize you didn't just rebuild your circumstances. You rebuilt yourself. You turned pain into wisdom. You turned fear into fuel. You turned silence into structure. And now you live different. You walk different. You think different. You breathe different. Not because you were born special, but because you refuse to settle. You refuse to let the past decide your worth. You refuse to let failure be final. And that choice, that grit, that fire, it's what makes you unstoppable. So keep building. Keep speaking life over your mind, your mission, your days. Keep sowing seeds of greatness into your routine. Because the life you're building is not for the faint-hearted. It's not for the convenient. It's not for the weekend warriors or part-time dreamers. It's for those who build when no one watches, who rise when no one believes, who give when they have every reason to quit. That's you. And when the world sees the life you've built, not just the things, but the man or woman you became in the process, they'll ask, how did you do it? And you'll smile because they won't understand the cost, the late nights, the early mornings, the sacrifices, the pain, the tears, the transformation, the relentless pursuit of a standard higher than comfort. But you will. And that understanding, that deep soul-level knowing, is worth more than applause, more than trophies, more than likes or fame. Because it's real. It's yours. It was built from ashes. And now it burns with purpose. So keep going. And never forget, you were born with greatness in your bones. You were made to rise. You were built for more. And now you are rebuilding for everything you were meant to become. And becoming is no longer an option. It is your calling. Not the kind of calling that waits patiently for permission, but the kind that knocks down walls. The kind that pulls you forward when motivation runs dry. The kind that whispers in your ear when you're exhausted. We're not done yet, because you're not here to repeat the past. You're here to rewrite the future. You're here to become a living testimony that transformation is possible, not just for those born lucky or those who had a head start, but for anyone brave enough to get honest, to get intentional, to get up one more time than they fall. This is what separates winners from wanderers' resolve. Wanderers wish, winners work. Wanderers hope for change. Winners create it. Wanderers float. Winners forge. And forge you must. Because rebuilding isn't passive. It isn't soft. It isn't delicate. It is war against who you used to be. It's conflict against complacency. It's confrontation with your excuses. You don't ask them to leave you. Evict them. With force. With finality. This is a full exodus from mediocrity. You're not fixing the old structure, you're leveling it. You're clearing the foundation of everything that doesn't serve the future. And once the ground is bare, once your soul is raw and ready, you begin again. Only now, you build with wisdom. You build with boundaries. You build with brutal honesty. Because you know now success is not the destination. It is the result of becoming the kind of person who deserves the destination. And to deserve it, you must become it long before you see it. Success doesn't start when the business launches, or the body is sculpted, or the dream partner arrives. Success starts in the small choices, the way you show up when no one else will, the way you keep promises to yourself, the way you rise from setbacks with more wisdom than wounds. It starts in the moment you decide, I will no longer live below my potential. And you hold that line every day, every action, every word. Because every word still is a seed. And the words you whisper to yourself in private become the architecture of your self-image. So what are you telling yourself? What are you repeating in your mind when no one hears? You better make sure it's truth, not comfort, not illusion, not old narratives coded in fear. In truth. Because truth is the fertilizer of a rebuilt life. And the truth is, you are capable, you are chosen, you are equipped, you are forged for this fight. The enemy is not outside of you. It's the whisper that says you can't. The habit that says tomorrow. The belief that says not me. Silence that voice with action. Starve it with excellence. Replace it with a new inner dialogue that reflects who you are becoming, not who you've been. Because who you've been got you here, but it won't take you there. There, where your legacy lives. There, where impact echoes. There, where you're finally at peace, not because life got easy, but because you got strong. That's the goal. Not just money, not just status, not just admiration, but peace. The kind that comes from alignment, from knowing you gave it all, from looking in the mirror and seeing a warrior, not a worrier, from walking into rooms and knowing you don't need to prove anything, you are the proof. So walk like it, speak like it, build like it, because people may doubt your words, but they cannot deny your results. Let your discipline be the evidence. Let your peace be the proof. Let your consistency be the roar. And if it takes time, good. Let it. If it gets hard, perfect. It's supposed to. Because what's built too fast breaks too easy. But what's built through pain stands. You are not fragile. You are not your past. You are not the product of your failures. You are the architect of your future. And as long as there is breath in your lungs, there is power in your hands. Power to change. Power to rise. Power to rebuild, not just once, but every single day. So don't just rebuild a moment. Rebuild a lifestyle. Rebuild a standard. Rebuild a mindset so strong that it becomes unshakable no matter what life throws your way. Because storms will come. Critics will come. Delays will come. But if your identity is anchored in who you're becoming, not what you're facing, nothing can stop you. So dig deep. Go all in. Refuse to go back. Because you didn't come this far to stop. You didn't fight through the darkness to settle for shadows. You didn't awaken your potential just to put it back to sleep. This is your time. This is your mountain. This is your life. And you are rebuilding it with fire. So let the fire consume what no longer belongs. Let it burn through every excuse you've carried like a badge. Let it incinerate the old stories you've told yourself, the ones that made mediocrity feel safe. Let it melt the chains of comfort that kept you from rising. Because fire doesn't just destroy, it forges. It turns coal into diamond. It turns raw iron into a sword. And it's turning you into something sacred. This is not destruction. This is rebirth. This is your phoenix moment, not in metaphor, but in motion, where the ashes of your former self give way to wings, where you don't just return, you rise, wiser, sharper, clearer, because now you see it. You see that success was never about the trophies or the titles. It was about who you had to become to hold them without crumbling. It was about the character that could carry the crown. And you, my friend, you are building that character one unrelenting day at a time. You no longer need the external to validate the internal. You no longer need the noise of the world to drown out the whispers of your soul. You've made a decision, and decisions, real decisions, divide your life into before and after. They draw a line in the sand and dare you to cross it. They say, this is who I was. That ends now. So step across. Step into the identity you've been rehearsing in your mind. Step into the shoes of the version of you who doesn't flinch under pressure, who doesn't wait for inspiration, who doesn't shrink in the face of greatness. And understand this, you don't get what you want. You get what you become. You get the life that matches your standards, your habits, your energy, your rituals, your integrity. So raise it all. Raise your morning routine until it matches your goals. Raise your communication until it reflects your self-respect. Raise your inner circle until it echoes your values. Raise your faith until it silences your fear. Because the life you desire lives on the other side of discomfort. It lives in the territory that most refuse to enter. It lives in the hours when others sleep, in the decisions others delay, in the principles others ignore. But not you. You're not rebuilding a life that blends in. You're building one that stands out. That makes noise not from chaos, but from consistency, from excellence, from relentless execution. So execute with precision, with hunger, with honor. Let every action be a reflection of the future you've chosen. Let every word you speak be a declaration of your identity, not the one they gave you, but the one you built, the one you fought for, the one you rose for. Because here's the truth. You are not starting from scratch. You are starting from experience, from pain that taught you, from losses that refined you, from moments that nearly broke you, but didn't. You've already survived more than what's ahead. You've already proven your resilience. Now it's time to prove your readiness, not to the world, to yourself, to the little boy or girl inside you who once dreamed big before life told them to shrink, to the future version of you waiting on the other side of this rebuild, cheering you on from tomorrow. To every person who's ever counted you out, not to shame them, but to show them what's possible. Because this is bigger than you. This is legacy. This is lineage. This is transformation that echoes beyond your name, your income, your image. This is about becoming the kind of person who, when they enter a room, makes people sit up straighter, not from ego, but from presence. A presence earned through fire, through silence, through sacrifice. A presence built in the shadows when no one watched, but everyone would one day feel. So keep going. Keep choosing the hard path. Keep rejecting the easy exit. Keep speaking life, not because it's cute, but because it's critical. Because words build worlds. And you are building an empire that begins inside of you. No one can stop it if you don't stop. So don't. Not today. Not tomorrow. Not ever. You've come too far. You've grown too much. You've awakened something too powerful to go back to sleep. So rise. And when they ask how you did it, tell them, I rebuilt with words that healed, not hurt. With habits that aligned, not delayed. With faith that defied logic. With fire that refined everything fake out of me. I rebuilt not for the world to see, but for the world to feel. Feel the shift. Feel the weight of your old self falling off like chains snapping in the silence. Feel the power returning to your bones, not as noise, but as knowing. Knowing that this time it's real. That this version of you isn't interested in show you're building substance. You're not just adding, you're becoming. And becoming requires subtraction. You've let go of the need for validation. You've released the handrails of old routines that led you nowhere. You've sacrificed the approval of people who couldn't see past your past. That's not loss. That's liberation. And now, what remains is pure, unapologetic, aligned, focused. You no longer beg life to be easier, you ask to be stronger. You no longer pray for shortcuts, you demand standards. Because shortcuts don't create strength. Comfort doesn't build confidence. Ease doesn't make you extraordinary. What makes you unstoppable is endurance. Endurance to keep going after the emotion fades. Endurance to stay planted while your seeds take root. Endurance to rebuild every single day, even when the results haven't caught up yet. Because you've learned to trust the unseen, to trust the process, to trust the principle, to trust that what you water grows. And so you water with words, with action, with consistency. Not once, not when it's convenient, every single day. Because now, it's not just about rebuilding a season, it's about rebuilding a life. One aligned with your values. One driven by vision. One anchored in truth. Not the truth of who you used to be, but the truth of who you are becoming. And if that path feels heavy, good, you weren't meant to carry light things. You were made to carry legacy, to lift others with your story, to show what's possible when someone refuses to settle for average. You are not here to entertain the world. You are here to impact it, to create ripple effects that shake generations awake, that awaken purpose in those who forgot they had one, that remind the world that pain doesn't mean pause, it means process. So process it. Use it. Let it become part of your rebuild, not as baggage, but as building material. Because what hurt you, taught you, what broke you, rebuilt you, what tried to stop you, started you. And now you don't need to shout. You don't need to prove. You walk in a quiet confidence. You build in silence. You move in purpose. Because you've realized your life is your loudest statement. And when the structure of your life stands tall, forged by discipline, driven by clarity, sustained by vision, the world doesn't need a sermon. It sees the truth. It sees what resilience looks like. It sees what faith looks like. It sees what rebuilding, real rebuilding looks like. And the most beautiful part? You're just getting started. Because success, true success, isn't a peak. It's a practice. It's not one mountain. It's a mountain range. And each one you climb reveals another. Higher, steeper, more sacred. And that's the point. Not to arrive, but to ascend. To grow, to evolve, to contribute, to transform, to become such a force of growth, of grace, of greatness, that everyone around you rises just by being in your presence. That's what happens when you rebuild right. You don't just change your life, you change the lives around you. You inspire without trying. You lead without forcing. You influence without chasing. Because rebuilt people carry something different. A gravity, a grit, a grace. So wear it well. Own it fully. Walk boldly into the next chapter. And know that this journey, this sacred, relentless, beautiful journey of rebuilding is the very reason you were given the gift of rock bottom in the first place. Not to end you, but to awaken you. And now that you've awakened, don't ever go back to sleep. Now that you've awakened, the world shifts. Not because the world has changed, but because you have. Because you no longer see through the lens of limitation. You see through vision. You no longer walk with doubt in your steps. You walk with destiny in your stride. You've crossed the line that few ever dare to cross, the line between surviving and becoming. And once you cross that line, everything ordinary begins to fall away. You no longer chase distractions because you're consumed by direction. You no longer cling to comfort because you've tasted conviction. You no longer fear the fire because you are the fire. You've stopped asking for lighter loads and started building stronger shoulders. You've stopped running from resistance and started inviting it to refine you. And now, every scar you carry tells a story not of defeat, but of decision. The decision to rise. The decision to heal. The decision to rebuild. And that rebuild, it wasn't cosmetic. It wasn't a surface level renovation. It was structural. It was soul deep. You went into the core. You did the hard, bloody, silent work. The kind no one applauds. The kind no one sees. But now they'll feel it. Because rebuilt people don't need to prove anything. Their life is the proof. Their peace is the announcement. Their posture is the declaration. And from this moment on, you carry a new kind of wealth. Not the kind stacked in banks, but the kind stored in identity. The wealth of self-respect. The wealth of alignment. The wealth of knowing that you no longer compromise who you are for temporary applause. You don't need the world to cheer. You don't need the world to understand. Because you didn't rebuild for the world. You rebuilt for war. You rebuilt for legacy. You rebuilt for the future. And now, you become the lighthouse for those still lost in the storm. Not because you shouted louder, but because you stood taller. Because your consistency became louder than chaos. Because your transformation became louder than trauma. Understand this. Every room you walk into is different now. Every space you enter feels your energy before you speak. Not ego, not arrogance, but authority. The kind that comes from scars, not scripts. From inner peace, not outer performance. Because when you've rebuilt from nothing, no one can take it from you. They can't cancel what they didn't construct. They can't shake what they didn't shake. They can't stop what they never started. And they didn't start this. You did. You chose to show up when quitting felt like the easier choice. You chose to keep building when the blueprint was blurry. You chose to stand when everything in you wanted to run. And that choice changed your life. So don't you dare stop now. This is only the beginning. The foundation has been laid. The inner world is fortified. The mindset has been reprogrammed. The soul has been refined. Now build the vision. Now speak the vision. Now live the vision. Because the most powerful thing you can ever show the world is a human being who rebuilt from ruin and rose unshaken. You, my friend, are that being. So rise not once, but every single day. Rise with fire. Rise with faith. Rise with intention. Rise with the unshakable resolve of someone who knows without a shadow of a doubt. This is not just your comeback. This is your becoming. This is your becoming, and it doesn't end. Because true becoming is infinite. It's not an event. It's not a finish line. It's not the moment the money comes, or the crowd cheers, or the goal is finally crossed. That's not the pinnacle. That's just the proof that you've been walking in the right direction. The real becoming is internal. It's the integrity you hold when no one's watching. It's the standard you maintain when you could get away with less. It's the mindset you guard when the world is handing out chaos for free. You see, you weren't just rebuilding a life. You were rebuilding a spirit. And now, that spirit has become a signal, a frequency. It attracts different battles, but it also attracts different blessings. And the higher you rise, the more precision is required. Because now you're not navigating as a wanderer, you're navigating as a leader. And leaders don't just build lives, they build legacies. So be vigilant. Don't let old habits sneak through new doors. Don't let familiar mediocrity wear a new mask. Don't confuse progress with permission to relax. No, you've tasted what discipline delivers. You've felt what alignment creates. You've witnessed the power of presence. Now protect it like treasure. Because what you've built and are still building is sacred. Sacred doesn't mean fragile. Sacred means intentional. Sacred means chosen. Sacred means guarded. Guard your mind. Guard your energy. Guard your environment. Because you're not in the game of collecting, you're in the game of crafting. A masterpiece, a movement, a model of what's possible when a person stops settling and starts building with fire. And fire never apologizes for burning. So keep burning. Burn through the fog of doubt. Burn through the noise of comparison. Burn through the delays, the detours, the distractions, because you know now, all of it is part of the build. There is no perfect path, only aligned steps. And each aligned step you take, you become more of who you're meant to be. More clear, more grounded, more powerful, not in noise, but in presence. And presence is power. When you've truly rebuilt, you stop chasing influence and you become it. You stop marketing your worth and you walk in it. You stop seeking validation because your existence, your daily grind, your resilience, that is the validation. You wake up with clarity. You move with conviction. You rest with peace. Because this version of you, this version doesn't question their value. This version doesn't fold when it gets hard. This version walks into resistance and smiles because pressure is no longer punishment, it's permission. Permission to rise. Permission to stretch. Permission to expand. That's the secret they don't tell you. The more you grow, the more pressure you'll feel, but you won't break because now you know who you are. You are the builder. You are the warrior. You are the vessel of something bigger than circumstance. And from this place of knowing, everything shifts. Your time becomes sacred. Your words become sharper. Your thoughts become filtered. Not because you're playing a role, but because you've become real. You've rebuilt not just with effort, but with essence. And the essence of a rebuilt soul is this: unstoppable peace, unshakable clarity, unbreakable commitment. So don't look back. There's nothing for you there. Just echoes of who you used to be. Just fragments of a story you've already rewritten. Just old wounds that no longer define you. Look forward, but even more than that, look within. Because now, the compass is inside. The vision is alive. The fire is eternal. You've rebuilt. And you will continue to rebuild because now you understand this life isn't about what you get. It's about what you become. And you are becoming the kind of person who will never again settle for anything less than a life that sets your soul on fire. A life that sets your soul on fire doesn't arrive by accident. It is summoned by decision, by action, by consistency when no one claps and no one sees. It is forged in the furnace of isolation, in the pressure of doubt, in the silence where most give up. But you didn't. And because you didn't, the fire now burns through every cell of your being. Not a fire of destruction, but of direction. It tells you where to go. It tells you who to be. It guides you when logic falls short, when plans collapse, when people disappear. That fire, your fire, is not for decoration. It is for dominance, for creation, for impact. And the world needs your fire. Not the dull, controlled kind, not the filtered version made safe for mass consumption, but the wild, untamed, focused inferno that makes people remember what it means to be alive. So let it burn. Let it speak through your presence. Let it shape your choices. Let it remind the world that greatness isn't about having more, it's about being more. More intentional, more aligned, more free. And freedom, real freedom, isn't given. It's built. It's rebuilt, layer by layer, through the decisions no one sees and the sacrifices no one claps for. Freedom is walking into your life without needing to escape it. Freedom is showing up as yourself, fully, unapologetically, relentlessly. Freedom is when your actions echo your vision, and your vision is no longer a dream, but a standard. And standards are sacred. They are not about control. They are about calling. You raise your standards because you remember who you are. You keep them high because you remember what you're building. And what you're building is not just for you. It's for every person who watches in silence. It's for every soul on the edge of giving up. It's for the generation after you, the ones who will walk through the doors you had to break open. That's legacy. And legacy is not made in one day of inspiration. It is made in daily self-respect. So walk with it. Walk with that quiet thunder in your chest. Walk with that discipline in your habits. Walk with that fire in your eyes that says, I remember who I used to be, and I will never go back. Because once you've rebuilt with truth, once you've rebuilt with purpose, the old version of you no longer fits. You don't just outgrow people. You outgrow patterns. You outgrow mindsets. You outgrow identities that once made you feel safe, but now feel like cages. And you begin to soar. Not because it's easy, not because the path clears, but because you've cleared. You've cleared the inner clutter, the self-doubt, the toxic ties, the mental loops that kept you small. You've cleared it all so that clarity could rise. And with clarity comes command. Command over your energy. Command over your time. Command over the kind of life that no longer waits for permission but walks in power. That's what rebuilding has given you. Power. Not control over others, but sovereignty over self. And in that sovereignty, there is peace. The kind of peace that doesn't need to be loud. The kind of peace that doesn't need to be explained. The kind of peace that doesn't flinch because it's rooted. Rooted in discipline. Rooted in identity. Rooted in vision. This is what it means to rebuild for success. Not just to rise once, but to rise ready. Not just to shine, but to stand. And now you stand not in potential, but in purpose. Not in fear, but in faith. Not in fragments, but in fullness. So walk forward. The world is waiting, not for your perfection, but for your presence. And now that you've rebuilt, you are ready to bring it. Bring it like a force of nature, like thunder cracking through complacency, like a tide that will not retreat. Because you didn't come this far to blend in with the noise. You didn't come through fire just to whisper your name. You came to echo. You came to leave an imprint so deep that even time will pause to remember it. Let the world watch. Let them wonder. Let them ask, how did they change so much? How did they go from nothing to this? And let your answer be everything they didn't see. The nights you cried but still rose at dawn. The mornings your body ached but you still moved. The days your mind screamed to quit but your spirit whispered, one more rep, one more call, one more line, one more brick. That's how. Because rebuilding is never about the moment, it's about the momentum. It's not the breakthrough that defines you. It's what you did in the 1,000 days before it. The invisible days. The thankless grind. The hours of silence filled with sweat and prayer and pain and belief. That's what you've built your life on now. Invisible victories. And invisible victories always precede visible results. So never doubt the process. Never doubt the power of the work no one applauds. That's where the transformation happens. That's where the mind is fortified. That's where your next level is born. Not in the spotlight, but in the shadows where real champions are made. And you are a champion now. Not because someone said so, but because you decided so. Because you didn't wait for motivation. You moved with intention. Because you didn't pray for the pain to end. You asked to grow stronger. Because you didn't hope for someone to save you. You became your own rescue. This is the way of the rebuilt. And now, you walk different. Not because you're better, but because you're anchored. You no longer chase everything that shines because you've become gold from the inside out. You no longer need to announce your worth because it's evident in how you live, how you serve, how you build. And you no longer fold when life applies pressure because you are pressure. You are force. You are presence. You are the reminder that it's possible to lose everything and still win. To be broken and still beautiful. To start over and still succeed. Because success was never about what you had. It was always about what you chose to become. So become. Every day. Become more focused. More faithful. More fearless. Become the kind of person who doesn't just change their life, but who becomes the example that others use to change theirs. And when you look back, when the dust settles, when your name becomes a blueprint for those who rise after you, you'll know it was all worth it. The pain, the setbacks, the silence, the rebuild. It wasn't punishment. It was preparation. Preparation for a life so rich in alignment, so full of power, so dripping with purpose that nothing before it compares. You are no longer rebuilding. You are now living what you built. So carry it with honor. Speak life into every room you enter. Walk like the storm you've weathered now lives inside of you. And remember always, you didn't just rise. You chose to rise. And that is what makes you unstoppable. Then let us finish this not with a whisper, but with a roar. The kind of roar that shakes your bones and stirs your soul. The kind that doesn't ask if you're ready because it knows you were born for this. Look around. This is your life. Not the one you escaped into at night when the world got too loud. Not the one you fantasized about while watching others win. This is the life you built. Not perfect, but powerful. Not finished, but foundational. Not handed to you earned. Brick by brick. Word by word. Decision by decision. And now you stand not as a survivor of your story, but as the author of its next chapter. You are no longer writing from pain. You are writing from power. You are no longer reacting to life. You are creating it. This is what success really is. Not a destination. Not a dollar amount. Not a social media milestone. It's this, the becoming. The unrelenting pursuit of the highest version of you. The refusal to stay the same. The sacred daily vow to rise, to show up, to sharpen, to sacrifice so that when the world looks at you, they don't just see a life rebuilt, they see a soul reborn. And that rebirth, it will echo. It will ripple. It will awaken. Because your rebuild wasn't just for you, it was for every soul connected to your legacy. For the people who are silently watching, praying for a sign that they can rise too. You are that sign. You are that signal. You are the walking, breathing, undeniable proof that a human being can fall, fracture, fail, and still come back stronger. So don't slow down now. Don't dim the light that got you here. Let it burn even brighter. Let it guide others home. Let it remind the world of this eternal truth. You were never just meant to exist. You were meant to build, to become, to lead. And now you're not just rebuilt. You are reborn. So go. Go walk in your power. Go build your vision. Go live a life that speaks louder than any voice ever could. And when they ask what changed, how you did it, where the strength came from, you'll look them in the eye, smile with fire in your chest, and say, I rebuilt myself for success. And now, I'm just getting started.